Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in to tonight's live. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It is Monday, the 10th of March already. We are going into spring, if you can believe it. I can believe it. But we are heading that way. I don't know if it was warm today where you live, but I hope it was because it was really nice and warm here in Ohio. And it's been a long time coming. So welcome in, everybody. Let me welcome some people in. If you're new to the channel, my name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. And if you stumbled across us, then that's for a reason. So you should go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're into true crime, and hit the like button if you guys don't mind. I ask you in the beginning because that way it gets us out into the algorithm. So that way more people come in and they chat in the group. So it's a you and a me thing. It's a both of us thing. But hey, Ladybug, how are you doing? Hey, Boone. How you doing? Oh, that makes me feel good. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Mike. Oh, never-ending timeline, I feel like. It keeps changing. And I was reading your message earlier, Boone. That's funny. Before the DVRs, yeah, we would have to make popcorn. I remember being a kid and our electricity went out once, and my dad, it wasn't my dad. It should have been my dad because like it was my uncle. And they acted exactly alike. But he kept asking us if we wanted to do things that required electricity. And I was little and I'd get all excited. That's what your message, for some reason, it took me back there. It took me back to that time. He's like, do you want to watch a movie? And we were like, yeah. Me and my cousin, of course, you know. And he's like, oh, we can't. Like they just used to torture us as kids, you know. We were 80s, 90s babies. Hey, Reno, how you doing? It's good to see ya. Hey, Mandy. Catherine's in here. Lenora's in here. Welcome in, everyone. Hey, Tony. Hey, Mary Beth. How's the move? Probably almost done. Probably feeling good. She's like, probably like, not there yet. Not even close, she said. I was about to say, yeah, it usually takes a while, you know. And then you'll figure out where you want to put everything and where everything belongs. Hey, Extreme Blonde. I always feel like some houses are like cut out there, like they kind of tell you where to put things in a way. But hey, Wizard Walt. Hey, Nash Native. But like I said, if you ever want to just redecorate your house, just move things around from room to room. I've heard that before and I heard it works. I haven't tried it myself because we just redecorated, but I'm going to. I definitely am going to. I actually have switched a sign in the bathroom, switched like bathroom signs, but other than that, I haven't. Hey, Elizabeth. Welcome in. Hey, Willows. Let me get down here a little bit. Loud upstairs neighbors. Oh gosh, beat the ceiling. It sounds like something my mom would do. I think she actually did do that once because she had someone that lived on top of her. Hey, Shelly. Hey, Lisa. It's kind of like one of those Brian Kohlberger neighbors. That's what his neighbors used. That's what they've said anyway about him. They said that he was like a night owl and that he would be, vacuuming and cleaning and just walking around upstairs after midnight. You know, that just now I have Patsy Cline songs in my head. Hey, FAFO. Hey, Therese. I thought that's who it was. Did a book come out? Did you have a book come out? I like was trying to read it on my watch as I'm like talking. I'm like, wait, was that Avery? And if that's what it is, congratulations. Wow, that's amazing. I would love to write a book. Not me personally. I don't think I could personally write it. I'd have to have someone write it with me or for me because my English is not the greatest anymore. Used to be my best subject, if you could believe that. Hey, Aries. How's everything going up there? Look at that member for 7 months, Nash Native. I love that. Hey, Karma. Thank you for being a member for so long. That's a long time. Hey, Ashley. Oh, yeah, of course. Hey, One Shot, how you doing? Hopefully you're having a good day. Ads already? Man, wonder what's going on. Usually they like will add on more ads like during like holiday. Do you think it's like because it's tax season? Like tax season's coming up. It's kind of a holiday, for people. Like really, I mean, some people get back tax money. Pet mama too. I 3 years ago, I realized that not everybody gets taxes back. And I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people now. Hey, B. Hey, proud Mimi. That's okay. Yeah, of course. Let's see here. Hey, CJK. Welcome in. Welcome, everybody. Let me see if I can get on my Gmail for my computer. My computer's. I haven't got my internet on there yet, or my email on my new computer yet. Let me see. Oh, look at that. Yeah, look, I'll share this. We'll share Avery's book. Let me make sure I don't have my. Is there anything up there for me? Yeah, hold on. We're gonna. Let me see. How do we do this? Okay, because this isn't. We're gonna put someone else's. Okay. There we go. This is the book. This is pretty cool, Avery. I'll have to get your book and read it. Wade Stephen Wilson. So it's about Wade Wilson. I figured it was. Is an American criminal convicted of the 2019 murders of Kristen Melton and Diane Rolls. See, I didn't follow that case really in Cape Coral, Florida. Let me see if I can. Actually, let me share the link you sent me because that one was a lot smaller. Go support our girl. Writing books and stuff over here. I ain't doing that yet. But hey, I might. You never know. I might. I should write a book. Everyone used to tell me to write a book about like my journey and all that stuff after my car accident, but I just I would have to have somebody write it with me. I don't know how I would start off. Like that's like the thing, the starting off. I think once I got started, I'd be cool. But it's the starting off. But congratulations. That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing to do. And I know a lot of people are into the Wade Wilson. They were into the Wade Wilson trial. They're still into it. I don't know why I didn't get into that trial. Something else must have been going on to have my attention diverted elsewhere because he was a character. That's for sure. And I'm sure he still is. But thank you guys all for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. Welcome in everybody that's coming in. Hey, Karina. Hey, Naomi. I don't know if I missed anybody. I'm sorry. I'm looking over to see. Aries. Funny. Just free them all. I guess Luigi Joni wrote like a letter to some lady that wrote him. I guess she wasn't done well by the healthcare system. So, but we'll go ahead and we'll get into this. So this came out this timeline. I wanted to go back and show you guys one of the original timelines that had come out in this case. And this one was probably like the one that we used the most, like video wise. It came out 2 years ago, so it's pretty old, but I wanted to just kind of take us back to see what we kind of knew then. And then we're going to go over kind of what's come out and the timeline of events now. Now that we know, we have the transcripts for the 911 call and we have the text messages between Dylan and Bethany. And I mean, it's telling more of a story. So we'll start with this and then we'll make our way around. Also, Vinnie Politan did a video on the timeline tonight too. So we could always go over that.
On November 13th, 2022, these 4 university students were discovered stabbed in their home in Moscow, Idaho. Local police described the case as very complex, and it took more than 6 weeks for a suspect to be arrested. We pieced together information from a case affidavit released by authorities, verified publicly available evidence, and pulled in ABC News reporting to create a visual timeline outlining significant events in this case. I'm Emmanuel Saliba, a senior reporter with ABC News. It's around 9 p.m. local time on Saturday, November 12th in Moscow, Idaho. According to an affidavit released by authorities, Zana Kernodle and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin are seen hanging out at the Sigma Chi house. It's about a 5-minute walk from their off-campus house on King Road. Zana's roommates Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan are at the Corner Club. It's a historic sports bar in town. They stay at the bar for about 3 hours, according to an affidavit released by authorities. And around 1:30 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie leave the corner bar. The next available images we have of them are in this surveillance footage obtained by ABC News. They're heading towards a local food truck, which is about a 6-minute walk from the bar. Police say this man with them is not a suspect. This is the grub truck. They have been streaming live on Twitch since about 10 p.m. And around 1:41 a.m., we see all 3 of them walk into frame. Maddie and Kaylee order food.
Have a good night. Bye. Hello. Hi. Welcome back.
And I will say this too, like with the DNA that was found under Maddie's fingernails, there was 3 different contributors to that. We're assuming that Maddie was one contributor. It could have been, it could be Kaylee. I think that the other contributor, one of them is Kaylee, but the third person, it could be the killer. It could be, or it could have been whoever's jacket she was wearing that night. If that was a guy's jacket, because it does look a little, big on her. So when she was putting her hands through the jacket, her nails could have scraped, across the cloth and got picked up skin cells or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what DNA evidence, if it was biological or if it was, exactly what it was. But she also hugs the guy, I believe, in the jersey in this video. I don't know if it'll show it in this video, but in the grub truck video, she does. So that could be another. contributor.
I would like the
And also, wait, wasn't it a guy that took them home that night? Like the driver was a guy. So if they were in the back of his car, it could have been from there too. I mean, there's a lot of places that they could have picked up that DNA.
the car.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
How many more do you need? That's the second one? Awesome.
Dawn's mom.
then you said-
$10.
Cool. Thank you.
47. Thank you very much.
They wait around for about 10 minutes. Around 1:51 a.m., they grab food from the
That
truck
doesn't
window
show it.
and walk out of freight. Police confirm that at this point they get picked up by a car service, and about 6 minutes later, they arrive at home on King Road. According to an affidavit, Ethan and Zana are already in the house, along with 2 other roommates. 2:47 a.m. According to police, a phone belonging to the suspect, Brian Koberger, stops connecting to the cell network in nearby Pullman, Washington. This is where he lives and studies criminology as a PhD student at Washington State University. 2:53 a.m. Authorities say a white sedan consistent with a vehicle registered to Koberger is seen traveling towards the highway that connects Pullman and Moscow. It's only about a 10-mile drive between the two cities. At 3:29 a.m., surveillance footage obtained by police from the King Road neighborhood captures a white sedan making an initial drive by the victim's house. Authorities say this car will make another 2 passes in the next 30 minutes. It's 4 a.m. According to the affidavit, Zana receives a DoorDash delivery, and a source tells
Yeah.
ABC News that the delivery is contactless and the order is left at the front door. A surviving roommate would later tell authorities that around this time, 4 a.m., she wakes up to what sounds like Kaylee playing with her dog in the room on the 3rd floor. She also reports hearing someone say, "There's someone here." 4:04 a.m., authorities say the white sedan is seen driving into the neighborhood a 4th time. 4:12 a.m., according to phone records obtained by police, Zana is awake and using TikTok. The affidavit states that the same surviving roommate says she hears what sounds like crying coming from Zana's room. She opens her door a second time and says she hears a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At 4:17 a.m., this security camera on a neighbor's home picks up distorted audio of what sounds like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times.
Now, does anybody, before I forget, does anybody know where Emily, I'm trying to think of her last name. I had her last name. Hold on. I gotta go to the bottom. I don't know if I'm gonna say it right. Adlant. So she's the girlfriend of Hunter Johnson. She's the girl that was there during the 911 call. And she's a neighbor. Is she the one that lives in the 1112 King Road house? Do you guys know? I'm assuming that it is because she does say in the 911 call something to the effect of like, that she lives to the right. Like she's a neighbor, she lives to the right. So if you're looking outside of their house, if you're looking towards, their house, it would be that house to the right. But I'm just not completely sure, so.
This camera is less than 50 feet from Zana's bedroom. The affidavit states their surviving roommate then opens her door a 3rd time. She sees a masked man walking past her towards the sliding glass door in the kitchen. In frozen shock, she locks her door. 4:20 a.m., police say the white sedan is seen leaving the neighborhood at a high rate speed. 5:25 a.m., authorities say that same vehicle is seen on 5 cameras back in the Pullman area, near where the suspect lives. And then, between 9:12 and 9:21 a.m., police say data collected shows the suspect's phone appearing near the scene of the murders.
Okay, so that 9:12 a.m. the next morning. What do you think he went back there for? Knife sheath? Maybe? I don't know. I mean, he obviously, I think that, Dylan said he looked at her. Now, I don't know if he saw her or if he was just looking in the general direction and, she was behind the door, like the door was just partially open. I don't know if, if her bedroom was dark, if it wouldn't like illuminate her, there would be no light.
About 8 hours after the killings, a 911 call reports an unconscious person at the scene of the crime. Shortly after, Moscow police discover the bodies of 4 students.
The facts of the case that we know right now.
November 16th, police reveal the 4 victims were stabbed to death.
The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located.
I know he came back at 9:12 and not 8:30 in the morning. The neighbor said he walked by the house, I believe, between 8:30 and 9 and saw that the front door was wide open. What if like his timing was off a little bit? What if it was more like 9:30? And Brian Kohlberger went back to the house and he just opened the front door to get people's attention. I don't know. I'm just over here racking my brain on why that front door was open.
This time.
We are eternally grateful that we spent so much time with him.
This is Ethan's mom on November 30th at a vigil honoring her son and the 3 other victims.
That's the most important message that we have for you and your families, is to make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people, because time is precious and it's something you can't get back.
We're looking for a 2011 to a 2013 Hyundai Elantra.
December 7th, no suspects have been publicly identified, and Moscow police appeal to the public for help.
Any assistance you can give us, anybody that owns one, anybody that knows of someone who owns one or may have been driving one, if you could get a hold of us through our tip line or call us directly, we'd appreciate that.
December 15th, Kohlberger and his father are driving eastbound on I-70 when they get pulled over by a Hancock County Sheriff's deputy.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. So you're coming from Washington State University? Yeah. And you're going where? Oh.
We're going to be going to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we're slightly punchy because we're driving for hours.
Hours, days.
They're driving across.
So when Brian rides the first person's butt, right? And his dad's like, yeah, it's just because you're tired, son. We've been driving for days and hours. Why didn't his dad drive? Like, why didn't they switch spots? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they did on the way and we didn't see it because he was picked up twice in 15 minutes. But maybe dad should have taken over driving then, because he got pulled over literally 15 minutes later doing the same thing he got pulled over the first time for. Now, if that was me and I was a cop and I was running his license and I had saw in there that he had just got a warning for riding someone's butt on the highway and he was doing the same exact thing again, I would be giving him a big old ticket. I would just be like, I would be upset. I'd be mad if I was a cop, because I'd be like, okay, you just got in trouble for this. You're 30 years old almost, Me too. Love Productions. I think so too. Okay, where were we? There we are.
Across the country to their family home in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Well, do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay?
10 minutes later, they are pulled over again, but this time by Indiana State Police. Both departments would later say they had no identifying information on the suspect at the time of these stops or the alleged vehicle involved. The Indiana State Police added in another statement that its agency wasn't directed by the FBI to make the traffic stop. 15 days later, Kohlberger is arrested in Pennsylvania. The FBI identified the suspect by linking DNA evidence from the crime scene to a public genealogy database. January 3rd, he is extradited back to Idaho, where he is charged with felony burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder. In his statement, his extradition lawyer in Pennsylvania said his client was eager to be exonerated. The suspect remains in custody, awaiting his next court appearance in June.
That was a pretty good timeline to give us like the beginning, like the beginning of the case anyway. Now we have a little bit more to go with, but I did let me see how I share this. Write out all the text messages, but I think trying to see how this would okay. Just in case we need it. I'm gonna go back up to the top. But yeah, I read out the whole 911 call. But when I did it in like black and white to make it like easier to read, and it looks like it might be harder to read for you guys. So we'll go over to this. We'll go over to this article, and then we'll go to mine if we need it, since mine's like a little different. It's a little different. I know. I bet you Jack like regrets not answering the phone or not hearing the phone or whatever it was, whether he was ignoring the calls on purpose because he was just like not wanting to mess with a drunk Kaylee, he thought, or a drunk Maddie, he thought. But I think that, yeah, I feel really bad for him. If Jack came over, he might have spent the night there. I don't know if it would have helped or if it would have hurt him, I don't know if he would have been able to, you know what I mean? Like if it would have stopped anything, because I think that it was just in the books. It was just that's what was in the cards. That's what was supposed to happen. But if Jack came over, it might have. If he came over and he picked up Kaylee, let's say, it might have saved Kaylee's life. And, maybe he would come pick her up and pick up the dog. I don't know. Or maybe he would have came over and just stayed there and spent the night. Maybe she would have convinced him, hey, let's spend the night. It's like one of my last times, going to be in this house, things like that. Maybe if he was there, he could have stopped the person that was doing this, but then again, maybe he would have just been unalive too. I mean, look at Ethan. Ethan's a big boy. He's a tall boy. He's a big boy. He was an athletic guy. He, in my opinion, I think that he probably gave Kohlberger a little bit of run for his money, unless he was completely taken off, like, unless it was like just off, can't think of my words, but it was like a surprise attack. Unless it was a surprise, then I don't know how Brian could have overpowered Ethan like that. Do you know what I mean? But I guess with a knife you can. But it says here, on the night that 4 University of Idaho students were fatally stabbed in a house near the campus, 2 roommates began urgently texting each other after one of them saw a masked man moving through the house. And I'm still wondering why they were down here by this front window, by Bethany's window, when they were like up here. They were taking those pictures of like the windowsills and the ground, and they were even taking the ones over by the bedroom that was unoccupied. So I was just wondering what they found. Did they find anything in those windowsills? Fingerprints, handprints, anything? I'm wondering. They didn't call 911. That's not what they were doing, huh? Now, I don't know if they would have, if Dylan would have called, she had no reason to really call, like the first time, the second time she looked out. Oh, my microphone's turned down. Sorry. I turned my microphone up a little bit. Hopefully I don't bust your ears, but I don't think, I don't know, after the third time, if she saw a masked intruder, maybe she should have said, Bethany, we need to call the police. But then again, you're in shock. There's trauma. Shock will do some powerful things to your body. It could make you completely forget what you're doing. You can be, doing every single day-to-day activities and not even realize that you're doing them. So, but it says, what's going on? One of the residents, Dylan Mortensen, texted one of her friends upstairs, according to new court documents released on Thursday. The friend did not answer, but she was able to make contact with a downstairs roommate, Bethany Funk. I'm freaking out, she texted. Miss Mortensen and Miss Funk, who ultimately were the only survivors of the stabbing spree, began texting back and forth shortly before 4:30 a.m. Soon after Miss Mortensen had seen a masked man walking in the hallway outside her bedroom door. The text on the night of November 13th, 2022, give new insight into the confusion and fright of the two surviving roommates who appeared to have hunkered down in Miss Funk's room until later that morning. Miss Mortensen called or texted each of the stabbing victims around 4:30 a.m. but received no response. No one called 911 until more than 7 hours later. Now, that's the thing. Like, if you are downstairs with Bethany and I would feel a little more safe with her, just, having somebody there. And you're calling your roommates and nobody's answering, but they were home because everybody was at home and in bed, I said by the PCA, by 4 a.m. So why wouldn't you call 911 then? Like, why wouldn't, Dylan could have been like in pure shock and all that. Like, she just saw somebody with a mask on his face wearing all black. But Bethany should have been more like disassociated with it in a way. Do you know? Because she wasn't she didn't see anybody. She didn't hear anything, supposedly. So you would think that she would have been like, hey, wait, we need to call 911. Like, even if Dylan was freaking out. I don't know. And I've taken up for Dylan for a long time, for 2 years, 2.5 years. But I just don't know when she went down to Bethany's room why there wasn't somebody that would have called then. I don't know. But she could have maybe freaked Bethany right out too, to where they were both scared. Maybe they were so scared that they were just sitting there, in bed, and they both fell asleep and then they didn't wake up until the next morning. That could have happened too. The text on the night of November 13th, 2022, give new insight into the confusion and fright of the two surviving roommates. Sorry, I already read this part. Who appear to have hunkered down in Miss Funk's room until later that morning. Miss Mortensen called or texted each of the stabbing victims around 4:30 but received no response. No one called 911 until more than 7 hours later. Miss Mortensen, who had seen the masked figure in the house, told Miss Funk by text that no one is answering the other roommates' phones, and she described seeing someone wearing something like a ski mask almost. Miss Funk told her to run downstairs to her bedroom so they could be together. It's better than being alone, she texted. The messages provide a chilling new window into what has become an enduring mystery in the quadruple murder case. What were the two surviving roommates doing at the time that their housemates were being killed? Prosecutors have charged Brian Kohlberger, now 30, with murdering 4 victims who were found in 2 bedrooms of the home in the college town of Moscow, Idaho. A trial is scheduled to start in August. At the time of the killings, Mr. Kohlberger was a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, about a 20-minute drive away. Little so far has been revealed about the actions of the 2 surviving roommates who are expected to be called to testify at trial. But I think they're just testifying for the timeline purposes. Investigators have previously cited only a portion of Miss Mortensen's account in which she had described hearing noises and then seeing the masked man. Recent court records have offered a more complete picture. Miss Mortensen told law enforcement officers that she had been drunk and struggling to determine what was real and what was a dream. She indicated at one point she thought the person she saw was a firefighter. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of let's see if we can look up images. Look at this guy. I don't know if it'll open up big or not. Let's see. Oh, it did. Like, not the mask part, but like, just. Do you think he had a hard hat on? Hey, sunshine. I'm looking at like there's other ones too, but there's this guy. He looks like just a regular old fireman. Do you think that he had something that came up like from his neck up and covered his face? I don't at this point, because it said in the beginning it was just the nose and the mouth, and now she's talking other things. So it's like it's hard to, follow. So it says, after seeing the masked man, she went into her roommate's room and fell asleep, according to court records previously filed by the defense. Hours after the initial round of text at 10:23 a.m., Miss Mortensen sent more messages to her upstairs roommates, Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan, both 21, asking if either of them were awake. Please answer, she texted one of them. Are you up? She asked another. Later, one of their friends came to the house and discovered the body of one of the victims, Xana Kernodle. The group dialed 911 with someone on the call reporting that one of the roommates was drunk last night and she was not waking up. One of the callers said a man had been seen in the house the night before. When the police arrived, officers discovered a gruesome scene. Miss Kernodle, 20, was found stabbed to death near the body of her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, also 20. In a room upstairs, Miss Gonzalez and Miss Mogan were also found dead. Investigators have not detailed any prior connections between the victims and Mr. Kohlberger. They did find a knife sheath on the bed next to Miss Mogan and have said that DNA found on the sheath matches Mr. Kohlberger. Investigators identified him as a suspect in part after comparing the DNA profile on the knife sheath to those filed in a consumer databases and building a family tree. In their recent filings, prosecutors have detailed a range of evidence they plan to include at trial, including surveillance video, phone records, banking details, and records of Mr. Kohlberger's purchases from businesses including Dick's Sporting Goods, Under Armour, and Walmart. Where'd you get at Dick's? Mr. Kohlberger's lawyers have sought to exclude some of the DNA evidence, noting that blood from unknown people was also found inside and outside the home. I was reading that again just to make sure. So they have also asked the judge to rule out the death penalty in part because Mr. Kohlberger, they said, has autism spectrum disorder. Now, I want to see the paperwork for that. And when was he diagnosed? Just now? During his arraignment in May 2023, Mr. Kohlberger did not enter a plea, leaving the judge to enter a not guilty plea on his behalf because he's a coward. Mr. Kohlberger had previously said through a lawyer that he expected to be exonerated. Well, gotta wait for you to get convicted first, I guess, but yeah, Big Star, you're absolutely right. I actually did a whole video of like flight, fight, and freeze and all that. It was a really good video. Maybe I should watch that. I've seen other creators doing that lately, watching their own videos back, their own lives. And I'm like, oh man, we're really hurting for lives if we're watching our own lives back again. Oh no, that'd be weird to have the two of me on the screen. But that would be probably a good video to watch. I'll have to look to see where it's at. But I know that it should be in my Idaho playlist if you guys do want to watch it and I don't get to it. Because I was really taken up for Dylan because and I still will. As far as we know, they're all those two girls are victims, and I'm glad that they had each other to be able to go to. I couldn't imagine being Dylan and having to run down the stairs to Bethany's room. I would be terrified to do that because you don't know what you're going to, when you open your door, you don't know what you're going to get. You've already seen a masked intruder, you've already probably heard things, you saw the guy. I would be a nervous wreck. So Vinny here does closing arguments. He talks about two different cases. He talks about, the Idaho timeline breakdown, and then he'll talk about Karen Reed. So whenever he gets to Karen Reed, we'll just shut it off then. But I wanted to give you guys a reason why we're playing it a little bit through.
November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan were brutally stabbed to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. The shocking crime left the college town in fear as authorities searched for the killer. But those 4 students were not the only people in the house. There were 2 more roommates, Dylan and Bethany, who survived. They were awake in the early morning hours around the time of the brutal crimes. In fact, Dylan saw the killer just before he left the house, although it wasn't clear to her who he was and what he had just done. Dylan and Bethany communicated that night via text message and ended up in the same room in that house. Tonight, we will take a look at those communications, which lay out a timeline of what was happening and when it was happening as we continue our in-depth coverage of the Idaho student murders.
He also will play the interview. I forgot to tell you this part of Steve Gonsalves when he did the one on News Nation. I believe I put a video out of it, so you'll be able to see the video of that too.
Politan, thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you aboard on this Friday night. Big story. This is a big case, and we've got some big developments tonight to talk about. Of course, we're talking about the 4 students from the University of Idaho who were brutally murdered inside their house that they were living in while going to school. That house has since been demolished. The community did not want it there anymore, and apparently neither prosecutors nor the defense wants the jury to see it, so it's gone. But it clearly is an important part of this case and was the scene of this brutal, brutal murder. I want to walk through the house with you a little bit because there's 3 levels to this house as you look at it. On that top floor, that's where Maddie and Kaylee were. And that's where they were murdered. And they were together up on that top floor. There were a few rooms up there, but they were together in the same room. And it was in that top floor, in that room, where the knife sheath in this case was found. Significant part of the case, but these 2 young women, excuse me, I'm sorry. These 2 women were brutally murdered. Top floor of the house, no one else is on that top floor. If you go down now to the middle floor, that's where Ethan and Xana were killed. And that's where Xana's room one, I think Ethan was staying there that night. This is the main floor, which is where the kitchen is, which is where the sliding doors are, which is where they believe the killer came in and out of that home. So the middle floor, kind of the main floor of the house, right? Because this is where the kitchen is. This is sort of the way most people come in and out of the house. And that's where Ethan and Xana were. But there were 2 more roommates inside that house, Dylan and Bethany. Dylan was on that same floor, that middle floor, but in a different room from Xana. Bethany was down on the bottom floor. So that night, Dylan and Bethany were there while all of this was happening. And this became a quadruple murder. Thank goodness 6 people weren't murdered, but it could have happened. They were there. So what I want to do right now, because we've gotten more information about the 2 surviving roommates and how they were communicating in those early morning hours. But I want to put it all in context. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here to walk through the timeline of events that night leading up to when the murders are, so we can see when this text messaging was taking place, when these communications were taking place between 2 roommates in the same house, but again, on different floors. Dylan on the middle floor, where 2 of the murders took place, Bethany downstairs, where we don't believe the killer ever went. So we begin at 9 p.m. Ethan and Xana are at Sigma Chi, which is the fraternity, which is relatively close to the house. That's where they were that night. From 10 to 1:30, Maddie and Kaylee were in town at the Corner Club, and it's a nightclub / bar in town, and they're there spending the night. At 1:40 a.m., after leaving the club, they were seen on some video from the Grub Truck. The Grub Truck does a live stream on Twitch. And this became an extremely important video early on in the case because everyone was like, the murder took place. We have video of two of the victims. Twitch. And this became an extremely important video early on in the case because everyone was like, the murder took place. We have video of two of the victims just beforehand. What are they doing? Who is there? What's happening? And a lot of attention was paid to people that were at this Grub Truck. And there was a man standing behind her. Obviously, all these folks are innocent, but everyone was wondering who are they interacting with and did it have anything to do with what was going on? Because it seemed like there was one young man who was there and arrived when they arrived and left when they left. But obviously, he has nothing to do with the murders, but was something, a person that people were wondering, okay, how is he connected? Does he know anything about what happened that night? Was it someone that they bumped into in the nightclub? Then at 1:45, Xana and Ethan return to the home. And again, the home is so important in all of this. Here it is before it was knocked down. 3 stories. This is the parking lot where you can enter that bottom floor where Bethany was. And then as we approach it here, some body camera video of the home. Again, this is the bottom level, but if you go around the side and go up the mountain a little bit, you can enter through the sliding doors into the kitchen. And that's where they believe the killer entered the home and then climbing up through the back to the parking lot. 156.
There's not a good way to go back in that direction, I feel like, unless you go on the road and you go up the hill that way. I feel like if you're going in the grass, you're going to trip over rocks or like little things in the grass to where like, I don't know. I'm still fixated on the front door, but I just think that it would be hard to get down there, like from that back parking lot.
Is when Maddie and Kaylee arrived back at the home as well. So you've got Xana, Ethan, Maddie, Kaylee all back before 2 o'clock in the morning. What's happening with the suspect? 2:42 that night, the suspect's cell phone pings at his home in Pullman, Washington. Excuse me. 2:26 to 2:52, Kaylee and Maddie are calling Jack, Kaylee's ex, and someone that people are looking at because this is someone that has a relationship with Kaylee and someone who they were interacting with, at least on the phone that night, 2:26 to 2:52. Obviously, he's innocent in all of this. 2:47, the defendant's cell phone is traveling south through Pullman, Washington. Then the phone is turned off or placed into airplane mode, right? Off the grid. The phone is then off the grid at 2:47. This is interesting. 3:29 a.m., there's multiple sightings of a white Hyundai Elantra in the King Road neighborhood, and that vehicle makes 3 initial passes by the King Road residents. So you can see the road that you can drive by to go past the home. That's the road. There's cameras in some of the homes that are capturing this. Again, it's nighttime, it's dark, so it's difficult to make out license plates, but you can see vehicles that are making those passes. At 4 o'clock, Xana receives a DoorDash delivery. At 4:04, the suspect vehicle enters the area for a 4th time and turns around on King Road multiple times, finally towards the home. And
do you think that whoever did this, Brian Kohlberger, if it was him, that he saw the DoorDasher and that's why he like went and did a couple more laps around, waiting for them to leave and waiting on them maybe to eat and go or like get into the room and get settled?
this obviously is the time where they believe the suspect is about to enter the home. At 4:20 a.m., the suspect vehicle is seen departing the King Road residence area. Okay, so 4:20 is the time where we believe the killer is now leaving. That brings us now to the first text messages from Dylan to Bethany. Dylan on the second floor, Bethany on that bottom floor. Dylan, who in interviews said that she saw a man with bushy eyebrows. Dylan, I'm freaking out right now. No, it's like a ski mask almost. Bethany says something, explicit words, shocking. Actually, then Dylan, like he had something over his forehead a little and mouth. I'm not kidding. I am so freaked out. At this point, Dylan is panicking, it seems, right? She's freaking out. At 4:24 to 4:28, Dylan is calling and texting Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie and getting no response. No response whatsoever. But there are these attempts at communication after the text messages to Bethany. At 10:23 a.m., Dylan sends a text message to Kaylee and Maddie, but receives no answer. The text message, please answer. Are you up? Are you up? And then it's 11 a.m. and finally 911 is called. The phone is passed around a little bit, but one of the callers says, one of the roommates who's passed out and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up.
Let me see if I can get you the picture. So it looks like that this is Hunter and Emily. Take that with a grain of salt. But like it's like you have to pay for it. I'm not doing all that, but that could be who they're talking about. But I'm still digging into it. So let me keep digging.
We believe that's Xana, and she's not drunk, passed out. She is stabbed to death. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. So an acknowledgement that, yeah, they saw a man last night. A lot of people reacting to this, trying to understand what is going on in the minds and the way that Dylan and Bethany are reacting to this very unusual circumstance. I mean, you're in Moscow, Idaho. I mean, a lot of parents send their kids there because it was so safe. Let me bring in my guests who are going to help us here. Joining me, psychotherapist, CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Janie Lacey, and human behavior expert and author, Susan Constantine. Great to have you both here. Dr. Janie Lacey, so in those text messages, what are you taking away from them? The back and forth between Dylan and Bethany in the wee hours of the morning?
What I'm taking away is it's early in the morning. They haven't gotten any sleep. And, sometimes when we look at, Vinny, when people are going through something that they may not normally be able to process, something that's out of their normal, sometimes their responses don't follow what we would consider, especially in hindsight, like logical behavior. So in these situations that we're looking into that we would consider them acute trauma, right? There's this threat response system that may be activated. But I would also consider looking at the text messages that whatever was happening in the house before that night, perhaps where they used to having sometimes strange people coming in the house that were guests of the other roommates, right? So I would be interested to understand what was the normal moving of traffic that was happening before that night, to really be able to understand what would be considered normal before actually looking at their response. But we also know sometimes these things happen. People have these freeze responses, alongside what we would look at as fight or flight reactions, which sometimes is not what we would consider logical behavior, looking in hindsight to how someone reacts to things that are out of the norm for them in their situation.
And this is very out of the norm. I mean, extremely out of the norm. Now, Susan Constantine, what strikes me about all this is the back and forth talking about a guy in the ski mask, and there's obvious concern. She wouldn't be texting Bethany if she didn't have some level of concern. But then also in reaching out to Maddie and Kaylee and Xana and even Ethan at one point, they all live in the same house, but she's not leaving her space. She's communicating this way instead of going to the room and knocking on the door. I mean, she had to be absolutely frightened to death here.
Yes, and then keep in mind, what do kids do, and teenagers or even young adults? They text. They don't really knock on the door. So what I read all the way through every one of those texts, and I assigned different emotion and cognitions that was going on. And it really started to rank up when, of course, they saw the guy with the mask. When they saw the mask, there all of a sudden the threat started to become realized. Fear started to evolve. And then from there, then there's shared fear between BF and DM when it says, hey, I'm no kidding. I'm really freaked out. This is like emphasis. So am I. Now there's shared fear. My phone is going to die. And he says a bad word. And that's frustration. Come to my room. At this point in time, now flight happens, just like what Doctor was talking about. There is that fight, flight, or freeze kind of response. They see this happening, right? They're sensing this threat. This amygdala is really ramping up. And what do? We go into response. So now threat is being realized. They're taking cover because it's all right here. You literally can break down every single one of these and assign an emotion cognition with it, which I did. I went all through this, Vinny, and I assigned a cognition with every single one. So they started off with not being truly very concerned. Nobody's answering. That wouldn't be unusual. But then maybe a little confusion. And then it kind of ramps up to where Kaylee, there's this prompt, answer me. And then says it again. Then it says, yeah, dude, WTF. Then shock response happens. Like, what's really happening, man? And when you can see it kind of morphing all the way down to this fight or flight response when the threat's become realized. And then all of a sudden they sense the danger and threat was in progress. And then that's when they start running and going for a shelter.
The other part of this, Dr. Janie Lacey, is she's interviewed.
And probably being in the basement part, like tucked away, would probably feel more secure than, Bethany running to Dylan, I would say.
Afterwards,
that wasn't even an option.
Describing like, yes, I was drinking, but I couldn't tell if I was dreaming or if it was real in the moment.
That could be trauma too. That could easily be not booze, not drinking or anything. That could easily be trauma that's making her forget things. Easily, hands down, it could be. She could be thinking, oh, I must be because I was drinking that night. But in reality, it could be because she was in shock.
And that confusion. And the other thing that strikes me is talking about Xana, who's been stabbed to death. And they, I guess, believe to some extent that she's passed out, maybe drunk, and not sure exactly what's going on. And I don't know exactly what the scene looked like. It may not have been super bloody, depending upon where the wounds were, et cetera. But all of that, is to me such a horrible experience for them, but trying to figure out what's real and what's not real. And it seems like reality is not really clicking in the moments.
Well, you said it, Vinny. So they're under the influence. It's early in the morning. And when people are confronted with something that's horrible and unprecedented, we know that the brain sometimes, especially because they're also young, right? You and I that are seasoned people may have had a different life experience. But when you're young, their brain can struggle with making sense of what's happening, right? This this cognitive disruption. It's early in the morning. It can lead to, we know, delayed reactions, confusion, difficulty making decisions. And we know that that's a genuine psychological phenomenon. So especially when someone has extreme fear that's setting in, and then we're also taking that potentially under the influence, not resting, that it can really get someone to be able to not to be stuck in their ability to take action, especially if they believe like a threat or something is happening. And then I would also probably assume to a certain level that there's disbelief. You know, they're having a good time, they're home, and she's seeing someone and not sure if she's dreaming. Is she conscious? Is she not conscious? Right? This element of disbelief can also come into play. But we know with all of the different factors happening, processing potentially extreme violence in the middle of the night was not happening in that moment. And sometimes our mind can really have these temporary ways to protect ourselves when we're faced with something that doesn't fit our understanding of the world in the moment that it's happening.
And it seems that with all this happening around 4:30 in the morning or so, that at some point they might just fall asleep. Bethany and Dylan downstairs, I believe in the same room, alone. And I'm wondering, Susan, you know, that they had this level of fear, but it seemed together they're able to comfort each other to a certain extent, but not knowing what had happened upstairs, but maybe suspecting something is off, but not to the point of calling 911 or not to the point of leaving the safety that they felt in that room to go and check.
Yeah, and when you think about just humans and naturally, I mean, it's interesting how our body responds to these types of situations. You know, that the threat wasn't realized right away. And then we have this natural gut reaction, you know, that intuition, something wasn't right. And the fact that they were just kind of texting back and forth, not really responding, you know, as Dr. Lacey was talking about, there's this delayed reaction because this has never happened before. They've never probably had these kind of issues with their fear or that somebody would be breaking in. So they were detached from it. There was almost like this out of body experience that they had, and they didn't even relate it. But then there was something that physiologically that happened. And that is, you can't explain it, and neither can I. It is something that God gave us. And when he gives us that natural response, hey, danger is here, something's not right, things are not fitting right, and then your body will respond. I had the similar reaction when I was a witness in a murder case when I was 15 years old, which is another story you have to read in my book, by the way, because it was identical. Where the assailant was there, I was face to face with something was off. I got up, ran into the house. He ended up stabbing a woman 21 times with a paring knife. How did I know that? It's just God protects us.
Dr. Jenny Lacey, Susan Constantine, thank you both so much. When we come back, we'll bring in our think tank, break this down, what it means for the trial, plus coming up next hour.
I like that lady. Yeah, she was very insightful. Very insightful. I thought she would be pretty insightful.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates the Murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto, we'll take a look at newly revealed messages between Stephen Stearns and his parents. What do they reveal about this accused child molester and killer?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan. Episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
I'm Madison Mogan's father. She was so great. She lit up every room she'd come in, and she was just so positive and fun, and we love her and miss her so much. If you could speak.
Did you guys get to see the interview with Maddie's mom? I uploaded it a few weeks ago. Let me know if you guys got to see that, because it was a really good video, and Maddie's parents are the sweetest two people that you'll ever meet in your whole life. Like, you just want to hug them really tight. Like, they've lost, like, everyone's lost in this case, but I feel like her parents were like those helicopter kind of parents. The Gonzalezes have said, like, every time Maddie came to their house, anytime, like, they were friends for years and years and years and years. Maddie's parents would still like show up there and walk in with her and like drop her off. You know, they were very protective of her. Just makes me so sad. He breaks my heart.
Speak to the person responsible. Like,
I just, you never know how far something like this reaches, how many people it hurts, and how they're going to have to live with this for the rest of their life.
The way he was describing his daughter, you could say that about all of those young folks who were murdered. I mean, it's a good group of kids that were doing well in school, had bright futures. I mean, everything was like on target for the rest of their lives, and they were enjoying themselves. I want to bring in
they really were on target for like their ages and everything. Like, you know, they were doing everything the right way. I wonder if that's what got them, you know, killed, because someone was jealous of that.
think tank tonight and talk about the developments involving these witnesses. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, making his return tonight on this Friday, Brian Watkins. Also with us, the chief public defender for Oakland County, Michigan. She represented the Oxford High School shooter, Paulette Lofton. And trial attorney, big case Mike Jaffer is with us as well. Great to see everyone. As we think about these two survivors, right? The two roommates who survived all of this, one who physically saw a man dressed in black, bushy eyebrow. Based upon the actions, the communications, and everything else, how does that impact this trial? What does the jury do with their testimony and description of what they did and how they were communicating and what was going on inside that house tonight? What are your thoughts, Brian?
You know, it helps paint the picture for the prosecution. You know, that's what the prosecution wants to do, is put that jury inside that house. You know, they want the jury to feel what's happening. Now, legally and technically speaking, it doesn't do anything to prove that the defendant did this crime. You know, that's no direct evidence as to who did it. But putting the fear and painting that picture and setting the scene for that jury is very, very important.
This is going to be extremely emotional testimony, Paulette, because it's tough enough being a young person, right? And then you lived in the house where all this happened. One of you saw the killer, whether it's the defendant or not, the jury will tell us, obviously, but you saw the killer. You were somehow spared, and now you've got to talk about what happened that night, what you did, what you didn't do. How much impact do you think it will have on the jury to hear from Dylan, to hear from Bethany, who were in that house?
I think it's going to make a huge difference. Usually in this sort of situation, as a defense attorney, I would be objecting to these text messages coming in because I would argue that they were hearsay. But here in this case, the prosecutor is arguing that this creates a timeline. And with the timeline you gave viewers not that long ago, I think the messages are definitely coming in. It fits perfectly into the timeline that the prosecutor is trying to establish. I think the text messages are going to have quite an effect on the jury. And as was just stated, obviously it doesn't prove that the defendant charged is the one that committed the crime. But I think with the time frames, with his phone being off, his car being seen, and then you have these text messages literally being sent at the moment that he's presumed to have left, I think it's going to have a huge impact.
Mike, what do you think the jury does with the odd fact that everyone talks about in this case, and took us a while to fully understand, is that 911 is not called till 11 o'clock in the morning, right? There's no call until 11 in the morning. Does the jury... Well,
it was more like 12, but you know, we're not going to be choosy
need
over
to
here.
Understand what's going through the minds of these young girls.
I will say this though. I personally think that those girls somehow they got each other to like fall asleep. When you're going through trauma and stuff, your body will do some crazy things. Like you can go into a full sleep, just like full sleep. I don't know if that would happen with like Bethany though, but I mean, I guess it would, because she was probably just as scared as Dylan. I mean, maybe not as scared because she didn't see the guy, but you have your roommates coming down to your room saying, hey, I just saw somebody with like a mask on and I can't get a hold of any of our roommates and I don't know what's going on. I would think that I would still want to go investigate. I feel like if I didn't hear anything, I don't know. I just wish they would have I'm glad that they're safe. I just wish they would have maybe called the police sooner.
Girls, do they
And
need?
I'm not saying that would have done anything because I don't believe that. I don't believe that that would have probably saved anybody's life. But it might have just got them there sooner. And just it could have maybe, got them on Brian's tail sooner.
Need to understand the fear.
Because you think, I'm sorry if I keep pausing it, but you think about it, if the cops show up there, right? There's just been a murder. There's not that many ways out of this little area. So the cops could, maybe find out who it was just because it's so desolate out there. And he would be driving around.
Do they need to understand the confusion? Or is it not really significant? Or is it very significant?
I think it's a big sore thumb right in the middle of the prosecution's case, right? I think this is, to me, the most puzzling fact that I've looked at in this case is why did they wait? The text messages were between 4 and 5 a.m., right? And, they were at the grub truck. They went late. They got home, I think, around 2 o'clock. It's been a big sore thumb right in the middle of the case. I think the jury is going to have it explained to them very, very, very directly, right? Because we are dealing with young, impressionable kids. At the end of the day, timeline is a big deal in this case. This whole case is a circumstantial roadmap from Brian Koberger turning off his phone, driving a far distance, turning it back on. And so these messages are going to help explain the lack of a phone call to 911 until 11 o'clock the next day. I think this is a big deal. It's a sort of, I'm riveted to see what the answer is, and I want to see how they approach it, but they're going to have to approach it head on. I think the jury is going to ask that question because at the end of the day, was it Brian Koberger or was it not? That distance of 6-7 hours, it matters.
Yeah, and it's really something that everyone was talking about and reacting to as well as we got more information now. But I remember early on, it was a big question. So one of the victims, Kaylee, her dad has been very outspoken throughout and spoke to Brian Enton on News Nation, who was filling in for Ashley Banfield. And just like the public, the first time he saw or heard about these text messages was the same time we did when they were just released through a filing. Here's what he said about them.
What struck me is, it's not like Hollywood. It's not a scripted thing. It's not like what you would see on a TV set. That was a raw, emotional breakdown of two girls that were scared for their life. There's part of me that knows that, like how that house was, there's a lot of pranking going on. There's a lot of partying. So there's part of them that was probably thinking, is this a prank? Am I getting messed with? I know for a fact my daughter loved pranking people. So my heart goes out to those two girls. I'd have a hard time if I was one of their parents to have my daughter put through what they've been put through. I mean, we sat 2.5 years on what? Why did this need to be hidden from the public? Why did these girls have to be dragged through all this? These are the type of things that why I do these interviews and why we push back a little bit, because I think a lot of people are questioning right now why this was hidden.
And Brian, he's been very concerned from the beginning because a lot of stuff in this case is under seal. A lot of the information hasn't been made public. His daughter is one of the victims. He feels bad for these two girls. What do you think the trial will be like for those two young women to go through? To show up in court, get up on the witness stand, be questioned, be cross-examined.
Be looking right at Brian Koberger. Now, if I was Dylan, I would be, I hope she's not watching this podcast, but I would be terrified. I would be so terrified because you saw that person and they're not using her as an eyewitness. They're using her more as a timeline witness, but still, you're still looking at the person that you saw in the hallway that unalived 4 of your best friends. So
it's going to be terrible, just having them having to relive the most devastating and, a child's worst nightmare. I mean, You're in your home. That's your safe place, you know, and to have someone come in and murder your roommates, there's nothing more devastating. And they're going to have to live it all over again as though they're in that house. You know, the prosecution and the defense attorneys are going to put them in that house and ask them questions about what they were thinking, where they were standing, what they were feeling, where were they walking, what were they looking at, what were they seeing? And they're going to have to absolutely relive this from beginning to end. And it's very, very, very devastating.
Brian Watkins, Paulette Luft, and Mike Jafer, always great to have you on the show. Next time, you're going to be on a lot longer because tonight we got to move back to Massachusetts.
Okay, I think he's going back to old Turtle Boy. Does anyone know what's going on with that case? I don't. I have no clue. I have no clue. But they did honor the Made with Kindness Foundation. They honored the Idaho students. So I thought we would go over this little video really quick. And then I did find one picture of Dylan. I think she's in her room. I'm not 100% sure, but I can't see the pictures on the in the background. But I'll show you that as well. So we'll play this and then I'll show you the picture I found. I'm going to look, like I said, through the VSCO. I want to see if I still have that app on here. Oh wait, I got a new computer, so sign in. I don't know what my sign in is. I mean, I'm assuming it's TitaniumBuilt. Oh, well, that got me in. Okay. Now I'm going to have to do some research and figure out which is hers. Oh, and look. Okay, so let me stop that. It decided it wasn't going to share the volume with you guys, or the volume.
Well, this month marks 1 year since the Made with Kindness Foundation was created. Now, this is a foundation that honors 3 of the 4 University of Idaho students who were murdered in an off-campus house back in November of 2022.
And today, Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa, she talked with the foundation's founder about what it stands for.
The founder tells me Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee were part of her family, and their families support the foundation. In fact, Maddie's mom, Karen, is on the board of the foundation. Angela Navejas shared these videos of her daughter Ashlyn Couch with Madison Mogan from A Happier Time.
Maddie was like a daughter to me.
She says her daughter and Maddie were best friends, and Ashlyn lived in the home on King Road until she graduated early in the summer of 2022, and Xana moved into Ashlyn's room.
I knew all the girls really well.
And she was devastated when she found out Maddie, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were brutally stabbed to death in that home more than 2 years later.
It's been really difficult.
Especially with all of the recent hearings and court documents coming out.
It's really hard, but I try to focus on the fact that we are doing something to honor and remember these beautiful girls.
That something is the Made with Kindness Foundation that Angela and Ashlyn started.
Did the volume come off again? Or is it still on? I'm going to cut it off. It says that, man, why does it keep doing that? We'll try it one more time.
To honor Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie.
I can't imagine the pain that the families are going through, knowing the pain that I have, and I wasn't their mom, you know. I just knew that I needed to do something to not only help us, but maybe provide some love and provide something positive.
In May, the foundation will award 20 kids with $2,500 scholarships. They're also working on what's called the Kindness Club, which will provide different modules for college students. For example,
how women can stay safe when they're jogging on campus.
And reaching out to colleges and sororities to talk about how to make colleges safer. Last year, the foundation dedicated 2 plaques and 2 benches to the girls in a place they loved visiting, Coeur d'Alene Lake.
The summer of 2022 was the last picture I had with, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ashlyn, and we all went boating.
They're also now currently planning the second Make It Pink Gala.
June 13th this year, and it's going to be at the Hagedorn Hex Center. Madison Mogan actually wanted to get married there one day.
Their legacy made with kindness.
And I know that Maddie, Kaylee, and Dan are looking down, and they're so proud of what we're doing.
Angela tells me they have seen an increase in traffic on their website and their sponsorship levels recently. And while this foundation honors the 3 girls, Ethan Chapin Ethan's family created the Ethan's Smile Foundation in his honor, which also provides scholarships. And you can read more about that on fox13seattle.com.
Wow. Well, they all are still doing something, even not in this life, it's amazing. Gives me cold chills, it really does. But I wanted to go over some more of the timeline, but I think I'll wait because I want to get these pictures of Dylan's room. Let me see if I can pull up that one for you guys really quick. But this is the app. So this is the app that I'm on. I'm trying to find her, like her name on this app. I can't remember. I might be able to go through and like, I don't know, search it again. No, maybe not. Maybe not. I thought maybe it would like save my stuff from last time, but it didn't, unfortunately. So you guys tell me. Okay, oh, there it is. This is the only picture that I could find of Dylan. I don't know if this is, like I said, at the King Road residence. I think it is. There are pictures behind her, but they're, as far as I can see, I don't see anybody with prominent eyebrows. I don't really see much of anything because I can't really tell what it is. Looks like a lava lamp up here. There's a picture of her and some guy, and then the lava lamp with like something coming out of, blue stuff. I don't know what that is. And then it looks like she has like a cork board with things like posted to it. I'm assuming that's where she would put her drawings. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she had a thing for people with prominent eyes. I don't know. Oh, Demon Dog, they wouldn't be able to go through that house though. There's so much asbestos. The walls were taken out. The floors were taken out. The floorboards were taken out. There'd be nowhere to stand. Oh, yeah. I just don't know which one it would be on. That's a good idea, though, Mike. I'm going to have to look through that. I'm going to have to look through my playlist and see which video that was. See if I, like, named it, like, a certain, because I'm trying. I remember getting on the site because somebody was trying to say that there was a picture on there that was, like, or that it was Kaylee's page or something, and I was like, no, that's not right. It was when I was, like, debunking a bunch of stuff, and so I debunked it. Really? This picture? Frenchie? Wow, no way. Maybe I do think like people out there. I don't ever watch I haven't watched anyone's Idaho 4 content since, it's been a year at least, probably. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. I'm flowing through my like where I get my content from. It's just when I do when I look stuff up. But we were talking about this the other night. I was talking about how there was pictures, and I think there's more. Like, I think there's another picture in her room, and it's facing, like she's facing the doors behind her. So let me see if I can zoom into this bad boy. I bet I probably can a little bit at least. I just have an iPad that's right in front of my laptop. Oh, there's my poster. Wonder where that went. Oh yeah, I can zoom in. Could they see anything? Like the other creator? Could they? Because they probably have better eyes than me. Like this looks like red. This red thing looks like a person. Almost now it's like more I get in the blurrier. This is the dog. That looks like a pug. Like dressed up. I got pretty good eye, but you see a couple other ones, Tony. I'm gonna look up more pictures for our next live. Hey, Stephanie. Okay, Frenchie. Yeah, if anyone finds them, let me know. TitaniumBuiltBoo@gmail.com. I'll check my email in the morning too. I keep forgetting to check my email because it's not on my computer. I got this computer in January, I think, or December, and I haven't got my internet put on there yet, or my emails put on there yet because I don't know how to do it. So I got to wait for Vincent. But I think that's all I had for you guys for tonight. I did put up the full video of Steve Gonzalez's interview if you wanted to watch that, and I did the one of Maddie's mom, and that was a couple weeks ago that I did that one. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Also, I've been wanting to do live on the second channel. I'm going to do one there tomorrow, no matter what. No matter if it's during the day or during the night, we're going to go over there and hang out and just shoot the shit, do whatever we want. I figured we could like just, I can put my email in here. We can just like talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the YouTube world, and you guys want to talk to me about it, and I might want to talk to you guys about it. But it's just been crazy out there, you know. I think when you walked in, the bed would, well, I don't know, Mike, actually. My second channel, I'll put it's Unfiltered with Tanya. I'll put the link in the chat, because sometimes it's hard to find. I'm still a small channel over there. Mm-hmm. I was going to go over there tonight, but instead of doing a live over here, but that's like, no, do a live on your, this channel, and then trying to make sure I spell it all right. But we're going to go. We're going to go over there tomorrow. Let me see. Is that the right one? It looks like it is. Yep, that's it. Okay, that one worked. That one worked. We need a good laugh, you know? It's been a while since we've haven't covered, we've been covering we cover true crime on the channel, obviously, but that's why I have that second channel, because it's more of like a lifestyle channel. I am going to do like life vlogging and stuff over there eventually. I've got the stuff to do it. I just need to do it. I have all these tripods and all this stuff. I want to like record so bad. It's just getting it all set up and getting the motivation. I need the motivation. And I know with spring coming, it's giving me it. I can feel it coming. Because today I wanted to do a video outside, but we have 2 birds, like I told you guys, that are taking over our balcony. So I was like, I'll just go down by the pool next time. Not like at the pool. We have a sitting area, so I can go down there and we can do a live outside, because that would be fun, like on the second channel. I think we did that last year. We did a live outside, and I have a new mic so I can use my phone if I need to. So yeah, we can just I'll hang out over there. Oh, Delana, I was going to cover her case tonight, and then I saw something, and I should have still covered it, but they said something about they think she might have drowned, but that's them saying that. It's their officials are saying that, and I don't like that. Like, she was alone on the beach. You're just assuming she got in the water and drowned. Like, I don't, something's fishy there, you know? I haven't really got into it, but I have seen a little bit of the coverage of it. But thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks, Frenchie. I appreciate it. Yeah, and then so tomorrow we'll do something over on the second channel. We might do something over here too. And I think I'm gonna actually utilize my space and sit back in my blue chair for once. It's been like forever, I feel like, since I've been back there. So it'll be fun. But thank you guys all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. If you guys don't mind, hit the like button. You guys, thank you so much for hitting the like button tonight. I do appreciate that so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We do talk true crime daily. We're here at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've been trying to keep the lives between like an hour and a half, somewhere between there, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another live during the day on my second channel. So that way, I won't be too exhausted doing 2 lives a day, but I want to do more on the other channel because it's fun over there. We have members, and you guys should be, getting your members worth. So thank you guys again for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I will see you guys all tomorrow. If you guys haven't subscribe to the second channel, Unfiltered with Tanya, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys all back here tomorrow night. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know